There's a form of memory, working memory, which is kind of scratch pad memory. It's a memory that when we used to have to remember telephone numbers, that the ability to remember a 7-digit, at least in the United States, telephone number. It's different from long-term memory formation, which is memory for facts and events that is dependent on the hippocampus. I would argue that, everybody has parts of their memory that aren't as good as they want, but also other forms of memory that they're very good at. So I would guess, I've only just met you today, that your memory for stories and storytelling and story progress is excellent, because it has to be for the job that you do. I bet you it's much better than your friend that can navigate back. Not everybody has a perfect memory in all the different dimensions, and it's like our personality. Some people have a wonderful sense of humor and others don't. It is about how our brains are wired, which is defined both by nature and nurture, our genes. And, if I went to stand-up comedy class, I would probably get funnier. But there's probably a limit to my funniness compared to other people. There's lots of different names for forms of memory in the hippocampus, but I like to describe it as the hippocampus is critical for our memory for facts and events, also called declarative memory or cognitive memory. Another form of memory that's dependent on a completely different structure is motor memory, the memory that you use to learn how to play tennis or pickleball or whatever you're playing. And it's not declarative. I can't declare how I do a backhand in tennis, but it is in your motor functions. And this is dependent on the striatum, a motor-related structure. And then there's the prefrontal cortex, dependent on that working memory or scratch pad memory, keeping things in mind. So you and I are both trying to remember what we've just said, so we can link it to things that we might say in the future. Absolutely. So I like to say there are 4 things that make memory stick. And this is after 25 or 30 years studying the hippocampus and how memories work. Number 1 is obvious, repetition.
Okay.
You remember things with repetition. Number 2, not as obvious, association. The hippocampus is an associative structure. It associates one thing with the other. For example, your name and your face. So I just met you, and I will remember your name and your face now. But it also helps you remember things like who's married to each other, associating the husband with the wife. Have you heard of the memory palace?
Yes.
Yes. So this is a technique that has been used for many, many ages to help remember things. And it is a strategy where you picture a spatial location that's very familiar to you, like your childhood home. And when you need to remember a list of items, you take an imaginative walk through that very familiar environment and place those items in particular locations in the environment. That is associating something really familiar, your childhood home, you know every corner of it, with the new thing you need to remember. And that works and has worked for memory champions for many years because the hippocampus associates things together. That's number 2, association. Number 3 is novelty. We remember novel things. I've never been to this particular studio ever before in my 26 years in New York and Brooklyn. So this is a novel thing, and I will remember coming here to do this podcast with you. Our brains, and this is where it interacts with the attention system. Our attention system focuses on things that are novel. Why? Because it could be dangerous. If I've seen things over and over and over again, I don't notice them. They go into the background. It's not going to hurt me any, it's not going to cause me any danger.
Cliche. That's why cliche doesn't work in marketing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but something novel, that really perks people up. I use that in my teaching all the time. Surprise students with an element of what you want them to learn, and they will remember it better. But the 4th one, which is so powerful, and we know it intuitively, we understand this intuitively, is emotional resonance makes things more memorable. We remember the happiest and the saddest things in our lives because that emotional resonance solidifies those memories. Where does that come from? It comes from a structure called the amygdala that sits right in front of the hippocampus, right in the front of the temporal lobe, right here, and the hippocampus is right behind it. Amygdala means almond. It's an almond-shaped structure, and it sits right in front of the kind of tube-shaped structure that is the hippocampus behind it. And the amygdala is kind of infusing the hippocampus and kind of giving it a little jolt when it's emotionally resonant, either really happy or really sad. So that you can hold it if you like. If you like. This was purchased lawfully by my department, the Center for Neuroscience at New York University. So it is lawfully ours to use as a teaching tool. And it does bring enormous novelty to any situation that I go into and makes people really think about their brain in a new way, which is why I bring it.
What is in that box?
In this box is a real preserved human brain named Betty. No, we don't know the name of the person.
Okay.
I named this brain Betty. So, frontal lobe, occipital lobe for vision, occipital lobe back there. And in this brain, I don't know if you can see it from over there, if I pull apart the two hemispheres, you can see how deep the folds of the brain, the surface is folded in that deep into the brain, which expands the surface area of the outside of the cortex. The rat cortex is flat. There's no folds. Humans and elephants and dolphins have lots of folds. They have much higher capacity for computation because of the folds that you see in this brain. Really, half the people say it's smaller, half the people say, wow, that's enormous.
Interesting. Is that the color of a brain?
The color of the brain is darker than the real brain if we opened up my head right now because of the formaldehyde, the preservative chemical that this has been sitting in for at least 26 years. This brain has been in my department for ever since I got here 26 years ago.
I feel like I probably should hold it.
I think you should hold it.
Oh my God. It's wet.
Yes. So, I mean, that defined this person's whole life. How they saw, felt, smelled, heard, and thought about the world. Just right there in your one hand, in your right hand.
It's crazy to think that this little thing is, it's different underneath.
Yes.
It's crazy to think that this little thing,
That's the start of the spinal cord right there that you're pointing at.
And this stuff underneath at the back.
That is the cerebellum, brain structure critical for fine motor movement. So we wouldn't be able to walk smoothly if you have damage in your cerebellum. It is amazing. And actually in real life, firm tofu is the consistency of the brain. I often bring in a block of firm tofu when I demo this for students, in addition to Betty.
Do you remember the first time you saw a human brain?
I do. It changed my life because I was like, I want to study that. That is the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my whole life. And I want to study that, and I want to be just like her. And so it really, like, okay, now I decided this is what I want to do. And it was life